This week's episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is proudly brought to you by Gunner Kennels. Engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind, the G1 Kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner Kennels in a category all its own. Gunner Kennels was started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything they do. Gunner Kennels are dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market. Man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at www.gunnerkennels.com. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 102. This week on the show, we head down to Texas as we join our friends from Lifetime Decoys, Quack Rack, and 737 Duck Calls as they chase teal in the Lone Star State. All right, welcome to the 102nd episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. I'm Josh Palm, and we are your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Check us out at hpoutdoors.com. You can find us where all quality podcast content can be found. You can also find us across all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Head over to Facebook, check out our Facebook listeners group. Get in there and chat with a bunch of folks that listen to the show. And also my co-host, Dan Harushka. Dan, what's happening, man?
Yeah, we just had a conversation and that everyone's going to hear pretty soon, but I am now hungry and have a itchy trigger finger, so that's where I am currently.
Okay, good to know. Well, it's also good to know that we have the support of many fabulous companies, and one of which being Adrenaline. Bird hunting made quick, clean, and humane. The finisher is the alternative to the out-of-date technique that can damage or destroy your trophy bird. The finisher has been tested in the field and continues to hold true to its name, and the finisher can be easily worn on your lanyard, vest, or jacket. Check out www.adrenaline.com to get yours today. Also, Lucky Duck. About the only creature that they can't deceive is you. Lucky Duck is more than a brand. It's a lifestyle built around the subtle art of critter deception. While you're focused on the business end of your shotgun or rifle, know that they're completely focused on what matters most, you. Whether you're in the duck blind, dove field, on a predator stand, or chasing turkeys, they're confident that their products will help you succeed. Check out their full lineup at luckyduck.com, and you can keep up with them by following them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, 737 Duck and Goose Calls, original design, select grade components, superior sound, and unparalleled service. 737 takes exceptional pride in producing the finest quality, best premium calls on the market today. They're made right here in America and offered only direct to consumers through their website. Shipping in the U.S. is always free. International orders are also now accepted online, and a 20-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty accompanies every call purchased. 737 Duck Calls lead the flock. And finally, Dunn's Sporting Goods. Dunn's is a family-owned and operated business with 2 locations in Peabody, Missouri, and Marion, Illinois. They've got over 60 years dedicated to providing the outdoorsman with the best hunting deals on hunting and fishing gear. Check out their selection at shopduns.com, as well as on Facebook and Instagram at shopduns for weekly specials and giveaways. They've also got a great discount for the HP Outdoors listeners. You can use HPO to save 10% off your purchase. Some restrictions do apply. Also, thank you to Camp Chef, Black Rifle Coffee Company, Native Eyewear, and Big Al's Silhouette Decoys. Again, we say it all the time. These are the companies that support this show and what we do, so please support them in any way that you can. One way that you can benefit from these relationships is heading over to the HP Outdoors website. Check out the discount codes that we offer. Find out how you can save, as I've mentioned, 10% off with Dunn Sporting Goods, 15% off with the Black Rifle Coffee Company, 10% off with White Rock Decoys, 15% off of 737 Duck Calls, 15% off with Alpha Dog Nutrition, 10% off of Gunner Kennels, and 10% off of the Ridge Wallet. So if you're in the market for any of that gear, head over to our website, make sure you get the discount code, and take advantage of all the savings. All right, Dan, you mentioned that you're hungry and you have an itchy trigger finger. Anybody out there that's been tracking Lifetime Decoys or Garrett with Quack Rack or Ted Wells or any of these guys lately who've been down in Texas chasing teal, They've got it going on down there, man. They're on birds. They're hunting a really unique property. It's a really good group of guys down there. So I'm just insanely jealous that they, have the option to get the opportunity to get down there and do this. And I'm pretty sure they extended us an invite. So hopefully next year, maybe we'll get to do this from down there with them, which would be pretty cool. But it was awesome to catch up with these guys and just kind of gauge a little bit, how their season's going, and talk a little bit about kind of how the season looks and what they're going to get into, and just sort of, catch up with them and all that good stuff. So I'm excited to share this one with everybody because it was one of them, I had a lot of fun with this interview, just kind of catching up with everybody.
Yeah, man, Barton with Southern Oak Kennels and Addison with Gunner. Like you said, Ted Wells, Jeff Coates, pit boss, was down there. I mean, they've just been blowing up social media and having a great time. And, I shared a video on our Facebook group not too long ago, but there was an alligator that was going and retrieving dead ducks, and that was for Duck Commander, actually. So we talked about who deals with the alligators and stuff like that, and we kind of get into what they have to deal with and what they go back to the camp and make sure they get their snake boots on. And it's different than what we deal with, and just adds another element to the hunt. But yeah, definitely, before we shared the episode or started talking, Garrett's sending just pictures of all kinds of steaks and poppers and all kinds of stuff. So they are doing it right. They're having fun. And, that's what it's all about, camaraderie and sharing a blind. And it's just a really good episode. So I just want to thank them again for taking the time. They could have enjoyed their dinner without us kind of barging into the middle of it. But I think they enjoyed it too, and just talking about what they had going on.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think the thing about this is teal season, certain parts of the country obviously don't have early teal season here in September, Pennsylvania, for example. And then even states that do have it, Virginia, for example, your ability to get on teal with any kind of consistency is going to be isolated to just certain pockets. So even if we do have a season here, it's not like we're going out and just bagging limit after limit of teal. These guys, have huntable numbers, and they're getting more birds in, and we talk about this with them, but it's just awesome to be able to get that sort of migration feel, of fresh birds this early in the year. It's just sort of like a little bit of a foreign concept for me, kind of being up in here in the Northeast. So it's cool to hear them talk about it, and how they hunt them and how they pursue them, and, how their setup is with the land, and how they, adjust year to year to hunt and get on birds. So, what do you think? You want to roll that right now and kind of discuss on the other side?
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Roger that. All right, guys, we got a special group of folks joining us this week. This is something that I've been looking forward to for the last couple of weeks. We're catching up with the guys down in Texas, beating up on the teal. They're back in duck camp this weekend for the final weekend to close out the Texas teal season. And we're joined by guys from Lifetime Decoys, Quack Rack, 737 Duck Calls, lots of great dudes, friends of the show. We're starting it off with Peter from Lifetime Decoys. Peter, how's it going, man?
Dan, Josh, great to talk to you guys again. It's going awesome down here.
Yeah, we're excited to talk to you. We're incredibly jealous. We've been watching all y'all's Instagram feeds and stories and stuff that you guys have been sharing, and you've had a couple really great weekends of hunting down there, and we definitely want to jump into that and talk a little bit about some of the techniques and tactics and things that you guys are using to be successful down there. But before we get too far down the road on that, I wanted to just take a few minutes here and ask you to kind of describe the setup that you got down there. I think the story is pretty unique, and it's pretty cool when you guys have got an amazing, duck camp, as we would call it, down there. But talk to us a little bit about where you guys are hunting and kind of the backstory to the property there.
Yeah, it's definitely a really cool, unique backstory. So we're hunting about 60 miles south of Houston and about 20 miles west. So we're about 20 miles west of El Campo, if you look at it on the map. And it's big prairie, lots of rice fields, so it's really flat. And there's lots of, still lots of rice farming that goes on down here. So it creates a, giant wetland for the ducks and geese, and it's always been a good part of the flyway. So the unique part of the story is my great grandfather purchased this city that went bust. It was called Providence City. They tried to develop it at one point, and they were counting on a railroad coming through. And, you'd come through Kansas or wherever if you wanted to create a homestead down in Texas in the early 1900s. So the hotel we're staying in tonight was built in 1909. And that was where you'd come visit if you wanted to come look at buying a homestead. And, they sent out brochures, and they really tried to sell the place, land development company, with plans of a railroad coming through. And at the end of the day, they made it sound better than it actually was. And the soil is really sandy. And so made it really difficult or impossible to grow enough crops to make a living, just on a little homestead. So the land wasn't great for farming, and the railroad actually never came through. So the town at one point, it was a town. It had a baseball team and a school and, maybe 500 people or something like that. And it just didn't make it, especially when the railroad decided not to come through. So what happened was it turned into a ghost town, and that land development company decided to, my great grandfather bought it from the land development company when they were trying to get rid of it. So it's been in my family ever since. And now we farm a lot of rice on it, and it's great for tealing. It's great for ducks. There's lots of good timber areas, creeks and streams, and there's, it's really flat, super flat land, and we flood it up. We have natural gas wells that go 1,000 feet into the ground, and we have, water that we can pump out, just with the natural gas wells at, whatever that natural gas costs per day. It's called $100 a day. So that's what the farmers use to flood the rice fields. And then when they're done farming the rice fields, we can just keep it flooding, and we can flood certain sections of the rice, and we can chop up fallow fields that they're not ricing that year, and chop those up and flood those up. So we just get tons of water out here, and it just turns into great duck habitat.
Man, so how many acres did your great-grandfather buy down there?
So it's about 25,000 acres.
25,000 acres.
And my mother's generation, actually, they all had free reign to it. And my mom has 26 first cousins, so my generation, there was just too many kids at that point. It was over 100 plus children of my age. So it was just way too many people walking around. You'd set up a deer blind, and then you'd be like, hey, who the hell are you? Why the hell are you at my deer blind? Like, so it was just, at that point, it was like, yeah. So, so ended up getting just divided by the grandparents. There's 6 grandchildren. So, we all know each other, and we can hunt, if we ask our cousins, but, that was the easiest way for us to do it, was just divided up by the grandparents. So actually where we're staying right now, the old hotel, the original hotel, where all the prospectors came to check out property, it's actually like a club. So there's so many family members now that some of them live in New York City, and they could care less about what's going on down there. So we turned it into a club, so you can just pay dues and rent it out. And if you want to have some people down, you can rent it out and have a party. or else you can just stay at your regular house on your plot. But it's a really cool setup.
I was going to say, so is the rest of the area around there, is it wet enough to attract a lot of ducks, or are there a lot of people that have to flood to accomplish that?
Well, there's a whole flyway that kind of starts, we're kind of on the western end of it. And then if you go almost back towards Houston, even Katy is now, that's kind of turned into a big city. So that used to be the city of Katy, which is just west of Houston, used to be 100% rice fields. And there's been hundreds of thousands of acres of rice that have been, taken away because of, commercial properties, or just land development. But, so the whole area from where we are east towards Houston and up north, it kind of follows Houston around north and then back towards the east. It's a whole huge flyway of rice fields and farming cornfields. So traditionally it's been a huge goose flyway. We used to have snow geese, just in the hundreds of thousands, and it's actually deteriorated now to where there's only a couple 100,000 acres of rice field left, I think. But so that goose flyway has shifted to the east, a pretty good amount. I mean, kind of sadly, but yeah. So we might get half the geese we had 15 years ago, but keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully there's, we can still. It's that. So yeah, there's a whole flyway of rice fields that have traditionally been rice fields that slowly are getting taken over. But who knows? Who knows how long that'll last? Hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. Maybe we can just keep the flyway coming. I don't know. What do you think, Garrett?
Well, just to what you were just talking about, when you count up what huntable numbers are when you're looking at a field, years ago, you'd find a field with 15 to 20,000, and that was considered huntable numbers to go jump into a field. And now, with the flyway shifting and the city of Houston kind of expanding, huntable numbers that we go after are 4,000 or 5,000 or 3,000 birds. So we've seen a huge decline in the geese populations that are hitting this part of the country.
And we're now joined by Garrett Walker of Quack Rack. Let me ask you guys, something that I find interesting again, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording, but, for a lot of places around the country, and, you're no different. It's still hot. Guys are, still kind of in that summer sort of malaise sort of deal. And, we're starting to get a little bit of cool weather up here. And, you made the comment you guys were fortunate enough to get a cold front push through, and that, that's what we would call summer still up here where we're at. So I think, a lot of guys want to equate migration with cold weather and, things like that are pushing the birds, when the teal are a little bit different. When do you guys start seeing teal show up in huntable numbers, and how like does it tend to line up pretty much with the 3-week season, or do you see a lot of birds down there, for a week or two or a period of time before you can actually hunt them?
That's a great question. What makes teal somewhat unique and very special in South Texas is they come down here like clockwork. Obviously, they're a migrating bird, and a cold front helps push more birds down. But it seems like that second week of September every year, you won't see anything, and then all of a sudden you'll start hearing reports of ponds being full with 500, 600, 1,000, 2,000 birds. And, those teal, they come down here, and it's a big business down here for a lot of outfitters. There's an outfitter right across the road from us that has 26 full-time guides this season.
Wow.
And, exactly. And so those teal, they come down. What we experienced so far this year is they showed up like they always do. You mentioned, that 3-week time frame. Our season changed this year. They pushed it back a week, and that made a lot of people nervous, going, are we going to have birds, this, that, and the other? And, I would say in this part of the country, the guys are filling straps for the full 3-week period. And it got a little stale last weekend, but we had a cold front come through Wednesday, a Texas cold front, meaning it got down into the low 80s. And new birds are here. And what we're seeing Thursday, Friday, and what we'll see tomorrow is shooting 5 to 10 man limits literally before 7:45. And I don't want to jinx our hunt, but that's what you're seeing from all the outfitters on Facebook and Instagram that we're seeing is we got a good push of birds this past Wednesday down with that cold front, and we got a full moon on, I guess it was Tuesday. So the moon phase and the weather just kind of all teed it up to just carry us through a strong finish to the end of this teal season.
So one question I have, Peter was talking about 25,000 acres, even split up, to 6 people. You're still talking 4,000 acres. Are you guys, I understand it's flat, but are there like roads through this property that make it easier to scout, or are you kind of picking some honey holes? And then, I've seen it just from following you guys on Instagram and whatnot, but you think of Texas and you think of, tumbleweed and stuff like that, but that's not what you guys are hunting. You're hunting some tall grass and actually I think you're cutting out holes, if I'm not mistaken from some of the comments maybe, but kind of explain the layout of the land a little more and just, how you guys pick your spots to be limiting out so quickly.
This is Peter. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that really, so you're talking about, you can look and there's creeks, so there's wooded areas, but then in between that, there's thousands of acres of rice fields. So in these rice fields, you'll either, they rotate them every year. So they'll have rice on them one year and then the next year it'll be fallow fields. And the flooded rice itself can be really good, even for teal. But even better, like I was talking earlier, we were cutting out a space. So where they had rice last year, we went and looked at it and, it was a fallow field, meaning there's just natural weeds growing on there. But, there was a huge influx of the smartweed, and the smartweed can turn into really great food for waterfowl. So we can just say, okay, this is a fallow field that has a lot of smartweed on it. Let's take the tractor out there. Let's shred it up and then we'll flood it. And then you can even flood it a week before teal season starts because really the teal, number one, they want to be out in the prairie because there's rice out there. And number two, they want to land on some water. So they don't need a lot of water. It could be 3 inches of water. They just want to land on a little bit of water and in a field that looks like it might have something good to eat on it. So basically our teal spots will change every year. So next year we won't be hunting this spot. Next year we'll be hunting maybe where he has rice, the farmer has rice growing this year. But also we'll tell him, hey, keep throwing water on this rice field that you already harvested because it will second crop. Even if he's not interested in that, it'll second crop. So in big duck season, in December, there will be rice coming off there and it'll turn into this amazing flooded field of rice. So you can hunt both the flooded rice fields and the fallow fields. You can flood those too, depending on if there's food there. And then we also have some timber areas where you get, some natural rivers or creeks that has a lot of oak trees and stuff. So we cut out we have one area that's 2 ponds. They're each 300 yards wide in the middle of the woods and right, fairly close to the rice field. So we can use the same pump to pump up those rice fields as well as pump up those fields in the woods. So, so we can pump up those timber the same way. We don't have there's not really a lot of, naturally always flooded duck hunting spots. Usually we'll flood them up a couple of weeks to a month before duck season. I mean, the big duck operations, those guys will flood thousands of acres for 8 months of the year with just complete disregard to cost of pumping water. I mean, they'll just pump all day. And I mean, the more water, at the end of the day, it's waterfowl, right? So the more water you can get everywhere, the more waterfowl you're going to get in. So, we try and keep as much water as we can on it, you know, as long as it's cost efficient, I guess. But yeah, so we have the prairie, and then we have some timber areas and that we flood as well. But almost all of it is, it dries up during the summer, and we flood it again before teal season starts.
So you mentioned big ducks. How does the rest of the waterfowl season tend to shape up for you guys? So teal season wraps up. How long is the season out before you get another split open up? And you know, I know it's going to change a little bit from year to year, but you know, kind of like historically, when do your other duck species start showing up, and do you guys tend to get higher numbers of you know, a particular species or something like that hits your area in general that you guys usually do pretty well on?
Yeah, for sure. Adam's here. I'm going to let Adam answer that one.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a break. We go into the regular season usually about the start of November. And we've got a pretty good regular season here, but you'll see in this area we've got a lot of pintail, tons of gadwall that come in. Still we'll have blue-winged teal and green-winged teal will start showing up. And then, you know, we get very little widgeon, but we'll see those on occasion.
Nice. Do you have a lot of specks that come through there too?
See a lot of specks, and then tons of snows. Actually, we had a big group of snows just about, I'd say, 200-300 yards from the house, the hotel here last year, and one flew over us. There's a rule not to shoot close to the hotel, and I wish I had my gun there because we had a snow fly over and there was a blue collar on it as it flew over.
Man.
Yeah, I threw my hat.
So Adam, you guys had, let's see, you had Addison down there, Barton, Pit Boss, Ted Wells was down there. How did all those hunts go? What are your numbers up to so far in 2 weekends?
Yeah, so total right now we're sitting at about 135 blue-winged teal. They've that first weekend it started a little slow just because we had the first day we had some thunderstorms roll through about midnight of that opening morning. So we were actually rained on that morning. We didn't get that much in the timber, which the timber is usually one of our golden spots. I think we only shot, 12, 13. And then we went the second day back over to our smartweed. We scouted that the next day and saw that the birds were in the fields, and went over to that and got a limit out of that the next day with 6 guys, so 36.
Mm. So, and we're joined by Adam Peeler here of Lifetime Decoys. Let's talk a little bit about the hunt setup. You talking about having 6 guys. Are you guys using A-frame style blinds, pips? Like what's your concealment consist of out there?
So during the regular season, we'll do a lot of A-frame. Right now, we've actually got some hog blinds that we've set up. We've got one on the smartweed that we've got a set up on an elbow. So we did kind of an L cutout on our smartweed field before we flooded it. And we put the blind, it was a 16 to 18 foot blind, right on that elbow. And that gets us to where we can pull in birds from the right. We can cut them off on the left. And we usually have a pod over to our left and a pod over to our right. That blind is big enough. We're running usually 2 jerk rigs, one on the right, one on the left, and usually a couple of, spinning ring decoys in there as well.
So I want to know, I know you got a couple new guys down there, but who's been the impressive shooter out of the group that's been down there?
Believe it or not, he's usually behind the camera, but Ted Wells was pretty good. Mm-hmm. He didn't get to teal hunt that much because he was taking some photos, but we got him out on the skeet range we've got in front of here, and he was just a dead eye.
Banging him up.
So I think he hunted with them. I think he hunted with him the last day, which I had to cut out on. But he was pretty dang good shot. I mean, we were shooting. He was throwing them behind his back and shooting 3 at a time, so it was pretty good. Now, if you're talking about people that come here, Dane is a fantastic shot. Dane, of course, did some tournament skeet shooting as well, sporting clays, and he comes out here. He usually brings like 8 shells out with him, and he'll get his limit and not have to do anything else.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, he's a really good shot.
So how was you had Pit Boss down there, Jeff Coates? Was that his first time in Texas? Was he cooking for you, or how did that go down?
We actually cooked for him. Garrett, of course, is an amazing cook, but that was his first Texas teal hunt, first time to hunt in Texas as well. So it was a new experience for him. You know, he's usually doing the diver hunting and going to scoters and sitting in a rocking boat most of the time. So it was a little bit of a change up for him. He loved it though, you know, getting out there right before sunlight and shooting the teal that were just scattering all over the place. I mean, we had them flying all over when he was here. So
that's awesome.
He enjoyed it. We had U12s here, 30 pounds of shrimp that came from Louisiana. We have a buddy that brought them, and cooked that one night with some steaks. And I think Garrett brought some 80-day aged faux hawks that we cooked that night as well.
Yeah, you boys, you all do it right down there. There's no question. If anybody hasn't been tracking them on Instagram, head over there and check all these dudes out down there. They got it going on for sure. But let me ask you some questions here about you talked about a couple things I wanted to circle back to. With your setup, you know, you've got pods of decoys on both sides of you, kind of running jerk rigs on either side, and you've got some spinning wing decoys as well. Conventional wisdom always tells you that, you know, teal are some of the most responsive to spinning wing decoys, and always you know, tend to have a lot of high success using that technique. How are you finding that they're responding, and how are you guys typically utilizing the jerk rig you know, in these early seasons? Because I think a lot of guys, you know, sort of make some assumptions, but you know, I know you guys put a lot of time on the jerk rig. You know, obviously we've talked a lot about using the Lifetime jerk rig and how we've implemented it. But I think a lot of guys, you know, probably just try to make best common sense judgments when they're setting out their decoys and where they're going to add their motion. But you know, being guys that have products that kind of pay in, you know, real finite attention to things like this. How are you guys deploying that within the spread and using that as birds, or kind of either on the approach or working on the corners, or kind of what's your philosophy there?
Right. Yeah. I mean, movement is key, of course. We've got, you know, we usually run two jerk rigs on either side, and really, during teal season, this is kind of the first teal season we've done spinning wings as much. We usually just do the jerk rigs, which have been working fantastic. The calling we don't do as much. We were doing a little bit more last weekend just because we had a comp caller in, and he can work a call. So we let him do his thing last week. But we usually run about two jerk rigs. That motion with the teal is just, I mean, it is incredible when they see that from far away. We're looking at you know, real flat ground, so you can see water movement and ducks for a long ways as they're flying. So they usually see that. We've been running about 2 to 3 spinning, and we set those inside the both pods, so they're actually sitting inside kind of that area that we want them to land. They've done pretty well with that. We've had to pull one or two one day, just because it looked like they kind of flared to it. So we just went strictly jerk rig on it, which has worked just as well. But we usually do the jerk rig without even calling, and that usually gets the teal in here. And we'll set that kind of if you look at your pods, we've got a pod on our left and a pod on our right, and we usually put that jerk rig on the insides of both of those pods with a lane right in the middle. So if they come in, they'll swing around either that right pod or that left pod and kind of do a little skirt around that and come straight into the middle and lay up.
That's pretty awesome, and definitely the jerk rig gets utilized a lot up here, especially since the spinners just were legalized and just started dabbling with that. But I wanted to circle back to the shooting a little bit, and since we don't have the teal season here, and really don't get a lot of teal throughout the year at all, but I see you guys are pretty much right on that hole that you're talking about, right on that elbow. So, I'm sure that you guys talk about it in camp, but what kind of chokes are you guys using? What kind of shells are you, like 4-shot? What's the go-to for teal down there?
Last week, I think I was using the Fast Teal Kent 5-shot.
Tomorrow I'm shooting really,
Peter, by the way.
Back to Peter. I think teal, for teal, 20 gauge is plenty. So if you can shoot a 20, that's great. Tomorrow I'm shooting over under 20 that has a light modified and an improved cylinder.
Yeah.
So, you're not looking for anything that's getting way out there. It's more smaller load and a little, improved cylinder almost kind of choke.
Yeah, I'm usually doing improved cylinder or modified.
Nice.
I think. What do you shoot, Garrett?
I have no clue. Just whatever's in the blanket. Sometimes it's a 2-shot. Sometimes it's double BB.
Nobody knows. The first weekend, I hadn't opened my bag since last year, and I had the Rob Roberts T3, which was kind of a long distance going on, but
Is that one teal that was in half at the beginning of the season?
Well, that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
Geez, so a lot of improved cylinder and modified. That's what, and probably if we did end up getting a season like that, or I went over to Ohio or something, I think I would probably go down to a modified. I think because I think Josh and I both are full choke and shoot 2s pretty much all year because we just get the big ducks and the honkers up here. So it's a little different style, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk to y'all is just because. We don't experience that, and it really is cool to get to talk to everyone and see different styles and different states. So this is a fun part of what we get to do.
Yeah. And y'all of course have a completely different way of hunting up there. We look at the geese that y'all are shooting up there and how y'all do it, and we're like, oh man, that looks a lot of fun. And then I'm sure y'all are looking at our stuff down here. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
So when you guys are out there this time of year, are you just getting pounded by mosquitoes and all that kind of stuff still going on?
In comes Garrett. So yes, first weekend we had Barton Ramsey and Addison with Gunner Kennels, and we got absolutely cannot wear flip-flops, cannot wear shorts when you walk out the door, destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And I kept telling everybody, I've got a solution for this. And they're like, yeah, ignore Garrett. Well, weekend number 2, I show up with my Tractor Supply 30-gallon little pump sprayer. Got a little 5-foot boom on it. And I brought the Bison out. For those of you that have mosquito issues and you don't know about Bison's an oil-based solution. So if it rains, it doesn't wash it out. Permethrin's probably better, but it's water-based, so every time it rains, you got to reapply. So anyway, I got the Bison out with a huge pump, and I sprayed this whole area. And right now, I could be naked laying in the grass, and I would not get one mosquito bite on me. So it has worked. It has worked for 2 weeks, and it's rained, almost every day. So I'm sure there's some guys on the call that are listening to me going, that Bison does work. So for those of you with mosquito issues, we are good right now.
We also fog every blind before we get into it every morning. So we take a backyard fogger and we go through that before anybody gets in, and we fog the whole blind.
I was going to say, I saw that on an Instagram story, just someone getting fogged out behind a truck, it must have been one of the first weekends. So.
Yeah, you don't want to be anywhere close to that.
So I think what Josh was getting at is how many spiders do you encounter on a normal morning hunt?
It's more about the snakes, not the spiders.
Yeah, snakes are pretty bad.
Geez.
We have tons of them. Well, the first day we went out there and scouted, we walked up on a levee and I saw 3 within the first, 10, 15 steps. So I was like, all right, I'm going to turn around and go get my boots.
The ticks. There's lots of ticks too.
Oh man.
So what kind of snakes do you got?
To come to Texas to hunt teal.
I mean, if you don't get a tick on you the whole weekend, then you haven't been out there.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that we got the ticks pretty bad here too. But what kind of snakes are we talking about here? Like the kind if you get bit, you're going to be in a bad kind of way, sort of deal.
Well, we're about 30, 45 minutes from anything that has a hospital.
There's lots of water moccasins.
Yeah,
but the water moccasins actually, people carry around Benadryl for their dogs. So the dogs the water moccasins hurt a dog a lot less than they do a person. So for a dog, you can actually give them a couple of things of Benadryl if they get bit by a water moccasin, and they'll be all right. Water moccasins don't kill people either. They just hurt them really bad. So I mean, you're talking emergency room probably, but it's not going to kill you. The rattlesnakes. But at the end of the day, we don't encounter them. People make a big deal out of it, but I've never seen anybody get bit by one. So,
and I haven't seen one in the blind either. I mean, we've been hunting out here now for 5 times this teal season. Haven't seen one in the blind.
They tend to get the hell out of there.
But since we brought it up, tomorrow morning for sure, yeah, a rattlesnake in the blind.
Yep.
Sitting right on the
Oh
building.
my gosh. So, and you got 737 down there. Dustin's down there, right?
Yeah, and he's actually, I'll go grab him real quick.
Yeah. So while we've been on this podcast, this is Garrett with Quack Rack, by the way. I had to pull the ribeyes off, and yeah, everybody went inside and they're filling their bellies.
No, I saw.
Staring out the window.
Well, I don't blame them. The pictures you sent before we got on here were pretty amazing.
Yeah, we're having a good time. And the funny thing is just like anything, I'm trying to learn this pit that just sits outside year round for, I don't know, probably 20 years. And I finally got it figured out on the last weekend of teal season. So tonight we had steak. Tomorrow is Peter's turn, and we're going to get into some fajitas. So we're going to.
What was that first picture on there? You had some kind of, was that teal poppers or something that you sent me? Wrapped in bacon, the smaller ones?
That was just some simple bacon wrapped jalapenos. We do some teal poppers, but come Sunday, all the teal are gone, and we got to go shoot them up tomorrow. So if y'all want to do another podcast tomorrow, we could talk about teal poppers. But right now we're out of teal because we like to eat them. We had them. We mixed them into our steak and eggs. What was that? Sunday morning last week. So we had steak and eggs and teal and all that. So.
That's the way to do it.
Doing it right down here. And you guys are going to have to come down here. We're going to have to, by then you'll be on your 300th episode next September or whatever. And you guys should just come on down.
Yeah.
So I'm witnessing the 737 guys crawl out of the ribeyes. Are they any good? Were they any good?
I'm in a meat coma.
So we got Dustin right here. Dustin, I'm going to hand you the phone. We got Josh and Dan.
What's up, Josh? Dan?
What's up, Dustin? How you doing,
What's up,
man?
man? How's it going, guys?
Sorry to pull you away from the supper table there, man. But we wanted to catch up and see how things are going. And so you guys made the trip down from Oklahoma to spend the weekend with these cats. I can't imagine what it's like rolling into a camp like that when it's already into the evening and everybody's been cooking. You probably got a little bit catching up to do, yeah?
Yeah, so we rolled in about, 5 o'clock, Adam? Yeah, about 5 o'clock. We had a few errands to run today. We've kind of made a 3-day road trip out of it. We dropped the airboat off, have it serviced, and a few little things added to it to kind of liven up the season a little bit because it wasn't flashy enough. So
Right.
we dropped it off. We had to make another stop, and we kind of rolled in about 4:30 or 5 and started fighting mosquitoes and eating beef, and that's kind of where we're at right now. pitching washers and just hanging out, man. It's an unbelievable place, this old hotel, and cool spot.
So, Dustin, do you guys have an early teal season in Oklahoma at your club?
Yeah, so we have early teal in Oklahoma, and we get teal, kind of the western part of Oklahoma. We don't have teal at the club because we plant our crops so late that we don't put water on anything. It's just kind of that. It's kind of an odd time for us. We're still growing, and the crops are in kind of a stage where they can't have a lot of water on them. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of rain over the last few weeks, and, we've done everything from add new drains to fire the pumps up to get water off the crops. We had, fortunately, like last week, we had a storm come through and it dropped, I think, 30 miles south of us, it dropped 14 or 17 inches in 7 hours. So, which would have been completely detrimental to the whole property. But we got fortunate there and only caught a few inches, but, still we're having to pump water off of crops and things like that because we push into late October before we start putting water on things.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's been, I don't know about countrywide, but I know here locally to where I'm at, it's been like one of the wettest seasons we've had. And, at this time of the year, we're usually starting to see a lot of, pretty good, some goose push a little bit, but like more of the numbers just kind of balled up, and our early goose season was a little bit of a bust because there's just sheet water everywhere. And the geese just never really, grouped up on the good food sources because there was just so much different areas flooded that usually aren't. And, it's been really problematic. So I'm interested to see, if some of that will dry out a little bit for us. Moving forward, but I could see how that would be problematic for you guys when you're talking about getting water off crops. Cause I know it's probably usually the problem's the other way around. I mean, you're trying to get water on them at the right time, not get it off all the time.
Right. So I'm pretty certain that we had the wettest August in Oklahoma history. Maybe, back from years before, but it was extremely wet. So we fought that all August, and now we're into the end of September. The grass is still growing in Oklahoma, which is extremely odd. We're just we're fighting water issues, and I have this odd suspicion that it's going to shut off on us, and we'll be a repeat of next year where we pump 42 days. So it's just one of those deals where like my grandpa always said, you only get so much rain per year. So if it's spread out over the entire year, great. If you only get it in 1 month, not so great.
Right.
It's just a battle that we constantly fight. So
yeah, it really is just kind of the farming for ducks and getting everything ready. So is this your first time down in Texas, like as far as hunting with these guys and early teal?
Yeah, so it's my first time to hunt with these guys early teal. I've never came this far south to hunt teal. I have hunted teal in Texas before, but not to this level. This is a 25,000 acre ranch and a 100-year-old hotel, so it's a whole different setting. But yeah, this is our first time down here, hanging out with these guys, meeting. I think we're the last weekend, so they've ran some pretty high brass through here the last 3 weekends. So we're just fortunate to get in here.
And is this the weekend that you pick your truck up, or did you already do that?
Yeah, so I picked it up yesterday. Yep.
That's a sweet ride. How do you like it?
I like it. We made the turn on the dirt road here and had Wes Morrison puckered up because we're on the dirt road, and I think we hit 100 mile an hour. And I told him it wasn't a Volkswagen Beetle, it's a Ford Raptor. That's what it's for.
Yeah, that's a big boy truck there, no doubt.
Yeah, I think everybody on Instagram has said I have little man syndrome.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no. That's okay.
Yeah,
whatever. It's a sweet truck.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm fortunate enough that one of the members of the club, he owns a Ford dealership, and he gives us excellent deals. And it was on our way down here, and we made a whole 4-day trip out of it. So it's been great.
Cool. So what do you got planned here after you wrap up with these guys? You got any good stuff coming up? Obviously the 737 social media accounts are some of the most active and have some of the best content out there as far as waterfowl stuff is concerned. So what do you got coming up here in the early season? Any good trips or any good hunts that you're excited for?
So this year I don't have any specific trips planned out. I think that we may try to get over and get in the timber in Arkansas. We're going to hunt the timber in Northeast Oklahoma with a few guys that, that we've kind of become friends with. There's a guy named Shane that owns Habitat Solutions that we've become pretty good friends with, has an awesome track of timber, Northeast Oklahoma. Some of the nicest green timber that I've ever seen, which is not saying much, but because I haven't seen a lot, but it's a beautiful piece of property. So we're going to go with him. And I think, man, I think this year we're focused on really just hunting at the property and we have a lot of people coming out this year, as far as doing stuff with the brand and, with the club and all that. But I mean, I may try to get to Montana. I haven't decided it during our split. I think Wes and Colin and I, we talked about it and we may try to make that work. I really want to go back up there. I love that place. I think it, I hate to say it, but I think it's a hidden gem. It's becoming more popular, but man, it's an unbelievable place to waterfowl. So I may try to get up there, but other than that, I mean, I just want to hunt. I just want to hunt the club. I want to hunt Oklahoma. I love it.
So have you hunted a lot of Montana, or are you just from your experience on going floating a Smith up there?
No, I've hunted in Montana I think I was there for 6 days, 2 years ago. So I hunted with Ted and I hunted with Matt and Camille. And so I got to see kind of a variety of Montana, but man, it's awesome. It's cold, but it's great waterfowling. It's just, it's another level of cold.
They crush them up there.
Yeah. It's something special.
Yeah, I've seen those guys on Instagram, Matt and Brady and those guys posting up some stuff because it looks like their season opens tomorrow. This is Friday night here, so it looks like they're getting ready to kick off up there. And they once they get the camera, the shutter bugs going up there, man, they put out some really cool stuff from the hunts that they have up there. So it's always a good time to see what the boys in Montana are doing.
Yeah, and knowing those guys, they've been scouting for a month straight. They already know exactly where they're going to be opening day. I mean, they know that valley like nobody else. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, they're hardcore about it. But I think that valley's kind of in the waterfowl world, kind of a small area, but they pretty much run it and they know every inch of it. So they kill a lot of birds. They do a lot of miles.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So do you have Wes along for the trip to hunt with you, or is he taking pictures for you and going to be pumping up the Instagram account?
Wes is actually washing my truck right now from the dirt road. No, Wes is he's out here. He brought his gun. He brought his camera. He's going to do it all. So, we definitely need him on the trip because he gets us a lot of good content. So. But I think mainly, this trip is kind of a season kickoff. Everybody have fun, everybody shoot type deal. I can certainly go get him if you want to talk to him.
That's up to, if he's still eating, you could probably leave him go. We're about 45 minutes in here, so probably not too much longer, but yeah, that's I see he's been. He probably gives you a few comments about the little man syndrome. I see he's been doing some jujitsu lately, so he probably hold his own.
Yeah, I've tried to get him and Kyle to roll here on the about I don't know, at least 10 times on this trip. I've tried to get them to fight, but they won't do it. Provide quality entertainment. So
yeah, no, there's some content, man. You get that on the Instagram. That'll bring some eyes to it,
Well, I mean, Wes, he belted up last week, so he's on another level. He's on another level.
I'm just gonna keep hitting that refresh on the stories because I believe in your power that you'll be able to get them to roll at least once this weekend. So I'm gonna keep
I could do it.
I'm going to keep a sharp eye.
Yeah, we'll keep the Cheetos flowing and keep the Coors Light flowing, and I think we can get a roll.
Yeah, it sounds like conditions are right for that kind of stuff to go down.
Yeah, I'm literally hovering 3 inches off the ground right now because of the mosquitoes, but I think I can get them to roll.
Man, I feel bad y'all are getting torn up out there.
Yeah, you shouldn't feel bad because I'm shooting ducks in the morning.
Yeah, I don't feel bad at all.
See, I don't really feel that bad.
I didn't think you did. Josh, I heard that because Dan's coming down to Oklahoma. I was like, man, you guys should. I'll come pick you up from the airport. And he's like, oh well, Josh is having a kid the 3rd of January. His whole duck season's screwed. So
well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the way it tends to work out. You know, it's like when I have major life events, like Dan goes off and does fun stuff, and you know, when I want to go do something, he's got to like mow the grass or something that weekend and can't go out and do it. So. Yeah, he can be down there hunting with everybody and everything. I'll be just up here, bringing a new life into the world. It's all good though.
I'll give him heavy shot blank.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, geez, feel better.
Yeah. You
give him some blank.
Yeah, I'm definitely disappointed, but it is what it is. It's all good. Next time.
Nah, you got next year.
Yeah. So anyway. Bringing up the source.
I got Wes right here. I mean, if you got any questions for him.
Yeah, get Wes on there. We'll talk with Wes.
Here he is.
What's up, Josh?
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, Dan?
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Not too bad. Is this your first trip down to Texas into deep Texas for teal?
This is my first, deep Texas teal hunt for sure. My wife's from Texas, so we come down here quite a bit. There's a few pigs around here that, we'll get after, but this is my first official Texas teal hunt. So pretty pumped up about that.
So let me ask you a question here. We get, for people that don't know, you work with Dustin there, 737, you manage the pro staff kind of stuff and content creation, some other things. But, we get a lot of questions and a lot of discussion about pro staff and kind of, how that's all come to be and kind of stuff like that. So someone that works day in and day out, what have you seen as far as the people that come to you and want to be in pro staffs, and how has that changed over the years, and kind of where do you see the future of, the quote unquote pro staff going? Because for me, it seemed like there was a long period of time where everybody was a pro staff for everything and all that kind of stuff. And maybe it's still like that, but at least to me, it seems like it might have pulled back a little bit more so on the company side to kind of maybe rein some of that stuff in, in general. But
yeah,
what have you seen, and what do you kind of think that little kind of piece is trending? Because again, everybody's out there hunting. Everybody wants to be an Instagram star. Everybody wants to hashtag and tag 737 and get your guys' attention and all that kind of stuff. So you guys got it coming at you from everywhere, and it's not just you, it's other companies as well. But kind of what do you see there as far as the temperature of that stuff, and where do you see that kind of deal going?
This is just kind of speaking from experience on the other side of things, trying to work with companies, and be on their pro staff, kind of the way that Dustin and Kyle and our relationship started. We were friends at first, and it was 100% personal. I used their products. I love their products. Wasn't looking for, anything in return. I just genuinely liked what they were producing and wanting to put out. And that led to, one thing that led to another, and kind of ended up turning into what it is now. And I feel like we're seeing a lot more of that, companies wanting to have a relationship with the people they're working with, because like you mentioned, it seems like everyone, and their dog, is hunting and wanting to put out content, and that's great. That's fantastic. But it seems like these days you've got to kind of carve out kind of what you're good at, your niche, and form a relationship with the people you want to be working with and the companies you want to be working with, and offer them what you have to offer. And that's kind of what 737 looks for. I know there's a ton of great duck callers. Obviously a lot of great duck call companies out there. And, what Dustin and Kyle are doing, they like to make sure that everyone who has their
call, is happy with their call, and has bin using their call, and then, then let's talk. So, I mean, maybe I kind of beat around the bush a little bit, or that was a long-winded way to answer your question, but that's, I'd say in a nutshell, kind of what, what we're seeing.
I think too, 737 is in a slightly different position because, now you guys are direct to consumer. So those people that have those relationships with you are by proxy more of an extension of what you guys are representing and bringing to the market. So do you feel that because you're direct to consumer and people are going to get feedback and direction from not just Dustin, Kyle, and you, but some of the other folks that work closely with you, they're going to have interactions more with the potential buyer than, say, the guy who's standing at the Cabela's or the Rogers counter, working a couple duck calls, and it's that retail guy that's telling him, giving you. So it is a little bit more for the guys now that you all are direct to consumer.
For sure. Almost everyone that, I look at it sends in a Pro Staff application, when it asks, do you know anyone on the 737 Pro Staff? Almost everyone that sends in an application knows someone. It's all personal recommendation. No one said, I went down to XYZ store and the customer service representative told me about 737 duck calls. It's all personal recommendation. Their buddy in the blind is blowing one and, told them about it or let them blow theirs. And so, they maybe picked one up and used it for a season and now they want to work with us. So that's kind of what we see.
I kind of want to say congrats to you because, 737, the social media accounts and all the content that you guys put out is top of the line, like Josh said. So, your name mixed in with, Todd Manning and a bunch of those other great photographers, you're definitely becoming a great name and putting out great content. But no problem. And I mean, I know the work that goes into it and just the drive that you need to get that good. So it's impressive, and I call it as I see it. You do great work. So what are you shooting down there as far as a camera goes, and are you sticking with that, or are you thinking any? I'm considering changing over to Sony. I think Josh has probably talked me into it. Nikon is not too far behind, but I don't know if I want to switch straight from Canon to Nikon just because the fanboy a little bit, but you know how it is. So what are you working with for these images?
So I'm a Nikon guy. I bought my first Nikon I was in college. I think it was 2007. It may have been 2008. And for no reason that I bought a Nikon over a Canon. I think I just, found a good deal on Amazon and bought a D90. And loved it. And it's just kind of one of those things, once you get familiar with it, that's what you use. So right now I'm shooting a D750 and I love it. I mean, I know there's lot newer models and bigger models, but for what I want to do for my style of photography, it does everything I need it to do and more. And I like shooting prime lenses. So I would say 99% of the shots, that I take, I've got a 35 prime and, my D750, and that's pretty much my setup. Of course, you got to have a 70-200 for a few shots and a wide angle for a few shots, but I like a prime lens and my D750. I'm kind of a simple man. And, if I need to take 2 steps back to get a shot or 2 steps forward to get a shot, that's what I do. But I like that setup. I know that setup like the back of my hand. So that's what I'm sticking with. And not to say I won't upgrade. I mean, I'd love to grab one of those 850s. I know Ted likes to rub that in my face, send me photos of him shooting cool stuff with that all the time. So I may have to step up in the next year or two, but by then I'm sure there will be a new model. But in the meantime, it's, that's in my tool bag.
Nice. Is a 750 is that a full frame?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a full frame.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The 750 is actually, we get a lot of people asking us questions about cameras and that kind of stuff. And I mean, there's a good reason why you're still with the 750 because that's a damn good camera, and it fits a really nice sweet spot in the market. And the performance of that camera is fantastic, and you can get them now because of the 850 and some of the other releases they've had. You can get them used at reasonable pricing, so that's a great option, not only for seasoned folks, but people that are trying to get in, at a relatively good price point on the Nikon line. The 750 is a great option, and if you're curious as to what kind of stuff you can get out of that, I'm actually on your website right now, Wes Morrison Photo, and you got some awesome images on there. So check that out. Check him out on Instagram as well. You can see some of the work that he's putting out, and another great option. And we get a lot of Nikon guys in here, but I've shot Nikon, I've shot Canon. Like Dan mentioned, I'm a Sony convert now, but I think the one thing that a lot of photographers can agree on is that there's just not a lot of bad options out there, in today's market. I mean, there's a lot of good companies making quality equipment, and it's just more about the person operating the camera than it is about the camera. It's like pick one up and go
exactly
shoot photos.
Right.
And you said it like, you can tell when someone has kind of found their style because they can tell you exactly what they want to shoot and why, which you kind of did unknowingly to us. But like, as you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, it's a guy that does it, knows what he's doing, and is confident in his setup. And that's just it. If you're spending time in the field with the 750 in your hand, but you're constantly thinking, man, if I had that 850, this shot would be better or something like that. I mean, you're kind of mentally beating yourself. So, using the camera that you got and, challenging yourself to be better with it is the name of the game. And I think that you're crushing that. So, nice work there. And I don't think,
thanks, Josh.
I don't think there's any reason to upgrade, man. I think you're doing good stuff.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. And I mean, that's, as you guys probably get, as well, probably the number one question that comes to anyone that takes photos inbox is, what camera do you use? What lens is that? And it's like, listen, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can't say that, but it doesn't matter. Like, what's your budget? Okay, spend a little bit more than what you were thinking, and then just go shoot. And it doesn't matter if it was Sony or Canon or Nikon or Pentax. It doesn't matter. Just grab a camera and go figure it out. And like, you're going to take awesome shots once you learn how to use it. But you know what I mean?
Yep. That experience is key. Just about anything.
For sure. Yeah.
Get out there and do it. So,
I mean, I was taking photos of, people throwing washers into a plywood board a little bit ago. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything cool. Just shoot. Just turn it on and shoot everything.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about that though is, a lot of guys talk to us about wanting to get a camera selfishly to use for their outdoor stuff and, take, images when they're in the field and stuff. But I always tell them too, I'm like, think about the setup that's going to work for, for your family opportunities and for your picnics and your gatherings and things like that. Because, some of the best images that I have of my own were shot with a 18-70 Sigma like super zoom on a Canon 60D, which was the first like camera setup that I really had. And it wasn't great lens. It had nothing to do with the equipment. It just had to do with, me being able to engage in something a little bit differently than I had before I looked at it from a photographer standpoint. And, I look back on those photos, I'm like, man, that's just a great shot. And it had zero to do with the equipment and all about immersing yourself and taking pictures of things that you didn't think could be interesting in the past, like throwing washers into a plywood board, but how you tell the story is as interesting as the story itself.
You're exactly right. Yeah. I mean, my camera's just always out. I take photos almost every day of my little girl. I have a little girl that's almost 2 years old, and I mean, for no reason, it's not like first day of school or first this or first that. It's just because. And, when you're enjoying what you're doing, it's just going to make you that much better. And, you'll see the progress as you keep going.
No doubt about it. No doubt. Josh, what do you think here, man? Is there anyone else that we need to talk to down there? I feel bad for taking you guys away from that food. I mean, Garrett's sending me pictures of steak and all this stuff. I mean,
I was in there chowing down. I already ate my ribeye. Jared's in there eating now, so I think everyone's made their turn around the meat. No worries about that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you all taking time out of the evening to chat with us and let us kind of live a little bit vicariously through you all. And, watching what you guys get to do like through this weekend, just a lot of guys don't get opportunities to go to a place like you're at and enjoy that and have the camaraderie. And, I think that's one of the things that we all as duck hunters just kind of, no matter where it's going down, we all know that feeling, and we all, would jump at it at any given time to just spend time,
Sure.
pursuing waterfowl with good quality people, and, cutting up and having a good time and having good eats and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm happy for you guys getting able to do that, and look forward to following you all through the weekend, and I hope you guys bang them up, and, we'll share in the journey through the social media stuff.
For sure. Josh and Dan, thank you.
You got it, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, shoot straight, fellas.
So this is Adam, and I guess Peter's here, and
Yeah.
also Garrett's here.
Good
So.
talking to you guys again.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you guys heard what we just said, but we appreciate you taking time as always, and we appreciate you guys and and your support of the show and everything that we've been doing. So we look forward to following your hunts this weekend, and throughout the rest of the year, and look forward to catching up with you guys again down the road.
Sounds good. The feeling is mutual. We'll talk to you guys later.
All
High
right, guys.
five.
All right.
High five.
See you later.
All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed our time with the guys down in Texas, and just want to take a second to thank everybody down there for spending a few minutes with us, and Peter and Adam with Lifetime, Garrett with Quack Rack, Dustin and Wes with 737, and again, like you said, they could have been doing cutting up, having a good time, but they took some time to hang out with us and navigate and deal with mosquitoes and things like that. So we do appreciate it. And, I got to be honest with you, I look forward to hopefully getting an opportunity to get down there and share camp with them, because it sounds like they have a blast and they do it right.
Yeah, without a doubt. And one thing that just shows that we need to get out and experience more of the country is I did not realize that rice farming was so big in Texas. I would have never guessed that. And it just makes me want to go down there more, because it's it definitely attracts, and the way that they have smart weed growing in there. I mean, I'm sure the birds are flocking in, and once they get the later season pushes of the big ducks, I bet it's just a blast down there. So definitely jealous, like you said, and jealous of the entire trip, not just the amount of birds, but just the amount of fun that they're having. And it seems like a great time. That's what everyone kind of strives for when they think of duck camp. And I know that they're having a great time down there. So I want to thank them as well. And like you said, big supporters of the show, all those companies, and as you can notice, everyone's laughing throughout the episode, and just great people that are involved with those places.
Yeah. And the thing that I always think about too, that really gets to the root of why I love duck hunting, is that you look on one hand, they're down there at a 25,000 acre ranch, cooking ribeye and, doing things and this and that and the other. But you got a group of guys somewhere out there that's camping out in a truck or camping out in a field, and they're, cooking hot dogs over a fire or cooking on a little camp stove or something. And, they're still having a blast and enjoying, the pursuit and the camaraderie in the same fashion. So it's kind of like it's that universal language that no matter where you are, and, we can all sort of speak that language and know what that feels like to be with your boys and kind of enjoying that camaraderie and being in camp. So, whether it's duck hunting or deer hunting or whatever it is, we know what that feeling is. And that's one of the things that keeps me coming back every year. And I look forward to it. And, if you tell me that I've got an opportunity to do that with more people and meet new people and make new friends and enjoy different camps and all that kind of stuff, man, sign me up.
Yeah, without a doubt. I was thinking about that today. I was like, I think that you and I, as far as opening days, which it might be a little more difficult because we do have some future plans of traveling and, next year. But I think opening day, we need to switch states. You came up here this year, so next year, maybe the opener, I'll head down there and have T-Dub in the blind, and we'll see if we can make that work with what else we got planned. But I was just thinking about our hunting trips together, and just super excited about everything coming up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the show, but spending more time with you and hanging out and meeting new people, breaking bread, and just good stuff.
Yeah,
I'm excited for the rest of this year.
And I'll tell you, I did get my son out for his second hunt and his first hunt here in Virginia. We got out last weekend before the close of the resident goose season, and we killed like 4, and it was just kind of a slow morning, but we were happy that we got to pull the trigger, and my son was engaged and he was into it, and he was very excited to be able to go and get back into it. And sure enough, as soon as we decided it was time to go, because he had a soccer game that afternoon, and we got up early, so I wanted to let him get some rest before the game and stuff. We get out there and start picking up decoys, and here they come, flock of like 30 locked in, and they wanted in, and they circled a couple times, and finally they just couldn't do it. But my son was not happy about that outcome. he was definitely upset that we had decided to pick up decoys at that point. So I think I kind of fell victim to my own rule. Whenever I think I've had enough or it's time to go, wait 30 minutes and you'll kill more birds. So I think he's learned a lesson on that, and we'll probably subscribe to the similar technique moving forward.
So was it easier to get him out of bed this time?
Definitely. Yeah, he was definitely more into it, and I was smart because it was like an hour drive from my house to the spot we were going. So I brought a pillow in the truck with him and let him, fall asleep on the way there and the way back. So he that made it a little more palatable for him. But it's funny what kids recall, man. When we hunted with you up in Pennsylvania, my mom made him, some chocolate milk and stuff like that for the morning. And he was just like, can I have chocolate milk in the morning? And can I do this? I'm like, yeah, man, that's what it is. So like, we've got our routine. And the one thing I will say, that I didn't really anticipate, I guess, is that there's a lot more logistically that you got to worry about when you're bringing your kid with you. You got to worry about what he's wearing, and is he going to be warm enough or cold? Is he going to be too hot, or do you got snacks? Do you got drinks for him? All of the things that you do for yourself, you have to do it twice for another person. And, that's something that just gives me a little bit of anxiety, because I already worry about bringing enough, making sure I bring everything. But now I'm trying to remember to bring 2 seats instead of just 1, and all of those kind of things. So it's a good problem to have, but it is something that I didn't really anticipate having to navigate quite as much as I did. But luckily I remembered everything, and he was happy and good to go, and we ended up having a good hunt, and he's ready to get back after it.
Yeah, I saw the picture you posted of his bloody hand, so I know he was no stranger to picking the birds up. But that takes me back to my younger years and getting ready for the opening day of deer with my dad. And I just remember, laying out all the clothes. Your outer layer goes down first, and then you just pretty much come down in your underwear and get dressed, and layer after layer until your outer clothes are on. You have all the snacks laid out, and we, that was our thing, before the opening day of rifle, and something that I look forward to doing with my kids. And that's super cool that you guys have a little routine, and making sure you got that chocolate milk ready for them. That's just it's cool, and brings back my own memories of growing up with my old man. So that's awesome. Just pumps me up.
Yeah, it's definitely brought a different element into hunting for me this year, and it's just exciting. I'm because it's that thing when your kids are born and you think, okay, hopefully they're going to be into hunting, and one day I'll get to share a blind, I'll get to introduce them to it and all that kind of stuff. That one day for me is now. Like, I'm firmly in that. I'm shaping the man he's going to become right now. So exposing him to these things, and hopefully these are life altering experiences that he's having now. And the gravity of that is not lost on me, and ensuring that he has a great time and a better experience every time he goes out. is very important. And it's exciting, man. I just love it, and, hearing him tell, like the night before we went hunting, they had like an outdoor movie night at his school where they project a movie up on the wall of the school. They put a screen out there and you watch it, a bunch of families and stuff are there. And he told everybody that would listen that he was going hunting in the morning. And my wife is like, she's kind of uneasy because we live in like an area where like not everybody hunts and people are, whatever. And I'm just like, that's right, man. You tell them all. I don't, I'm not even remotely sorry. Like
right.
I love it. So it's just great.
That makes me wonder, how is the wife, the whole support system? Is she just totally for it? I know she wasn't really brought up in a hunting household, so it's a little different for her, I'm sure, to see it go down.
Yeah. My wife is 1,000,000% supportive of him hunting with me and spending as much time as possible because even she said it. She's like, the way that you guys have bonded over this is unlike anything you've bonded over in the past. Like just, how much fun he has and how excited he gets. And obviously she knows how passionate I am about it. So like we've bonded very, very closely through the hunting experience. And, it's everything that I hoped it would be. And, couldn't care less what other people think about that. If he, if he is excited about hunting, I want him to tell everybody. And fortunately enough, most of our friends know that I'm a big hunter, so they don't, it's not a surprise, right? And this isn't new information to them, but
right.
So that's a little more of an adjustment for my wife to hear him talk about like killing birds and all of these things. But overall, I mean, she couldn't be more supportive, and she just likes it because we're out of the house, so she can sleep in and she don't have to worry about it. But now I'm just like, all right, that means I'm clear. I can hunt anytime I want to, and he can come with me, and I'm never gonna get pushed back for that. So it's kind of like, I don't golf anymore. I used to golf a bunch. But if I wanted to say like, hey, me and the boys are going to go like play 18, and hit the 19th hole after and all this stuff, she'd probably be like, what, But if I was like, hey, I'm going to go play some golf with your dad, she'd be like, yeah, go do it. That's a great idea.
Right.
So it kind of falls into that boat, I guess, a little bit.
Right. That's all good stuff, man. I'm excited for that day, and hopefully I have the same outcome with at least one of mine. I'd be happy with that. So,
I mean, 1 out of 3, man, 33%, you're a Hall of Famer if you hit 300 for your career. So you just got to get one.
Well, Kelly, I took Kelly out and we killed a dove and cooked it right away, and all 3 kids ate it. And talked to Dawson. He wants to shoot bears and wolves and elk and moose. So I mean, he's 3.5 and thinking big already. And Sadie's mad that I haven't taken her dove hunting yet, so she wants to be the first one in a goose blind. So I don't know if she can handle it as far as sitting still. The panel blinds would definitely be okay, and definitely would have to take some games or something, because that level of concentration and being still and happy is just not there. So probably get about a 30-minute hunt in, but I don't know. I got to say, it is a surprising turn of events that the anti-hunter is the first one in the field in part of the harvest. The Vegas odds did not have Kelly as the leader. No, but she's waiting for her second turn. So it's she loved it. And then, I mean, cooking it up, I did the bacon wrap. I think I mentioned it last episode, but the bacon wrap, and all the kids ate it and loved it. They want more. They said they didn't like the bacon, they liked the dove more. So I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
is that right? I don't know. I'm like, well, give me your bacon then. That's fine. But no, it was but I mean, one dove split up between 4 people. Erin didn't want any. She wanted the kids to try. Yeah, so
didn't last very long.
No, not at all. But that's all right. It was good.
Yeah. Now, dove hunting's a good opportunity to get kids exposed to, because they can do whatever they want out there, and birds are still going to fly around. So that's awesome. I mean, trust me, man. Before you know it, you're gonna look down, and your kids are gonna be 7, like mine is right now, and it goes quick. So,
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
Speaking of that, one more thing. My kids have been doing really well the last couple of years as far as not being sick, but they just started pre-K. My whole house, besides me, we're not even into October yet, and everyone has a cold except me. So,
oh yeah, man, dude, you're in for it now.
Yeah. So that's a real thing. With their babysitter, they've been fine unless so much snot and boogers. I'm just like, oh my god.
Your kids are going to be just petri dishes straight up. It's
nasty.
Your immune system's going to better be over in the corner doing push-ups because it's going to get tested.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I know that all. I know that all too well. But
all right, I have one last question for you.
Send it.
We made sure we did this on Friday night. You said you were unavailable Saturday night.
Dan, don't do this.
So what's gonna happen tomorrow?
What I don't know. I don't know. You're obviously referring to the Penn State Ohio State football game.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many people have either asked me what I'm going to do for the game or asked me if I want to come over and watch it or whatever. And the answer is absolutely not. I'm literally I'm just a wreck when it comes to this stuff. So I'm just going to sit on my couch in my house. Hopefully my, wife will fall asleep. My kid will go to bed. Because I just don't enjoy watching it with other people. I just don't. I need to be alone and just,
immersed.
Because I still remember last year having, Penn State being up by 14 on 2 different occasions against them and still losing that game. So I'm not over that. And, this is a big one. This is a big one for both teams. We're at home. So, if we have goals and, visions of higher aspirations later in the year, you got to win games like this. So it's a lot of pressure.
Yep.
And hopefully the boys show up and hopefully it's a good game.
And it was cool last week. You were texting me because a local kid scored his first touchdown. Journey Brown is from Meadville, which is 6 miles from where both of us grew up. And
yep.
My brother was his teacher through high school, which is just a cool connection to see him, playing at that level and getting his first touchdown. So
yeah,
congrats to him. I'm sure he does not listen to the show, but still proud of a local boy getting it done.
Yeah, it's definitely cool to see it, and they got a couple kids on the team from, Erie that are getting some shine and stuff like that. So it's always cool to see, kids locally from the Northwest PA area get down on the squad and make an impact. So I'm hoping for the best. I know there's probably a lot of people, Ohio State fans out there that are listening to the show and, they're like the big one. They're like the big one on the block, right? If you want to compete at a national level in the Big Ten, you got to go through Ohio State. So we'll get our crack tomorrow and we'll see how it goes.
There you go.
Yeah. You got anything else you want to throw at me here? One more thing before we wrap up?
No, man, I think I'm good. It was a great episode. Lifetime, Quack Rack, 737, big supporters of the show, like you said, and, in for 2019 already. So we appreciate everything they do for us and the time that they took tonight to record with us. So I hope they have a good time. I hope they don't get bit by any snakes or ticks or any more mosquitoes and shoot straight and fill those straps. So thanks again, fellas, and we appreciate it.
No question. Also, thank you to Gunner Kennels, Adrenal Line, Lucky Duck, 737 Duck and Goose Calls, Dunn Sporting Goods, Camp Chef, Black Rifle Coffee Company, Native Eyewear, and Big Al's Silhouette Decoys. Again, guys, these are the companies that make this machine go. So please support them in any way that you can. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and put a bow on this week's episode. All right, that does it for episode 102. Hopefully you enjoyed our chat with the guys down in Texas, Chase and Teal, and got you a little charged up for your local duck season and your camp that you're looking forward to hitting up. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out all the past episodes. You can leave 5-star rating and review over there for us. We certainly appreciate it, and it would help other people just like you find our show. We're going to be back to you next week with more great waterfowl content. But until then, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.